Hi guys, Theo here, doing a review of the Pard Leopard 480p thermal monocular. So we're taking a look at this, breaking down some of its features. I've been running this now for about a year now. And yeah, just some things I like about it, some things I don't like about it, and just talking about some of the things it can do and obviously what it can't. So we'll have a look at this one together. I'll take you in for some close-up footage as well, and we'll go from there. Basically, this particular unit here, it's the Pard 480p 25mm. So what that means is it's actually got a 480 pixel core, which sits in between that 300 and 640 or whatever it is size. So you get about, I think it's about 25% more pixels than the usual size below it. And that actually comes through quite a lot. Now, this particular unit does have a 25mm lens. They do come in 35 and now they do a 50mm as well. Great little unit, really good unit. Excellent for just scanning around those paddocks. That 25mm lens does mean it is going to be a bit of a shorter range lens. Not that you can't see the heat signatures out, and I'll overlay some footage here basically showing what that looks like out to over 1,000 meters. It's just that with that 25mm lens, you do want to be able to see. It won't give you that fine detail on being able to identify what those creatures are out past a certain point. And that certain point being a lot closer than your larger lens sizes, which is really the actual trick with these thermals. I've learned over the time is it is better to have a higher pixel sensor, but that lens makes a massive difference in actually that zoom and being able to physically see what you're looking at and clearly identify
Okay guys, so just going to roll some footage here that I've taken with the Pard Leopard and just sort of talk a bit about the features and a little bit about what we're seeing. So first clip here is just a rabbit at, what's that, 20 meters away. Just cycle through some of the modes. So it does have your usual modes. So white hot, black hot, extra contrast. It's got the purpley one as well. So a few different modes. I personally run my my thermal on white hot usually. I find it helps with my night vision when I take the actual thermal away from my eye and jump on my gun or just walking around, whatever I need to do. So you can see here that Ranger, it works quite well picking up those heat signatures at those distances. Now, basically this particular unit here, I'm just going to basically rip off the Pard website. Essentially, it's a 480 by 360 resolution sensor, 12 pixel size with a 20 and under millikelvin NETD. Looks like the frame rate refreshes at 50 hertz. Now, the laser rangefinder is to 1,000 meters. And this particular model, the Pard Leopard, is offered in two objective lenses. Now, like I said at the top of the video, my lens is the 25mm, but it is also offered in the 35mm. Now, there is the 640 core version, which is obviously the upgrade, more expensive version. And that is that particular one is offered also in a 50, 25, 35, and a 50. Now, this one, the 480, is going to be far less expensive than that 640, so it does offer a bit of a middle ground. Now that pixel resolution, that 480 by 360, like I said, it does have about 25% more pixels than the sort of lower sensor size. It sort of sits in between the 640 size and the 384 size as well, so it's a good little middle ground. The biggest thing you're going to notice ultimately through these clips is that 25mm lens. Although the pixel density is better, and it's something to think about as well, although that pixel density is higher, and you see this with the 640 thermals as well, if that lens is a lower value, in this case 25mm, you're starting from a lower base mag. Now I'm not going to go into the specifics of how it works. There's other channels for that. But ultimately, the long and short of it is, as you can see from here, from the clips that are playing at the moment, whilst you can pick up those heat signatures to a substantial distance, I mean, I've seen and you'll see clips later on in this video, out well past, probably 2K. You can pick up, or maybe 1500 meters, you can pick up that, a cow. You can see that white hot in the distance. It's just being able to resolve what that is. You're realistically going to be within that probably 350 meters, and that's more around things like a fox where you know how it moves. Now, that's obviously not going to be close enough to be able to take a shot, but it's going to be close enough to be able to make your next idea of, all right, okay, I'm fairly certain that's a fox, or I'm fairly certain that's a deer, the way it's moving, the way it's acting. We'll get in for a closer look. Once you're within that couple hundred meters, then you can start identifying things. What else can I talk about for this one? So, as you can see, different modes. This one here is that I do use this one occasionally as well. This is my backup sort of view, I suppose. It helps with contrast because it really pops, it stands out, that yellow color. Now, something I found with this, the resolution of the actual computer screen that you're looking at with your eye when you're using the device, the display is what it's called, that's set at 1920 by 1080. So it's not super high res, particularly compared to, say, my Knockpix night vision. However, it is pretty good. It is quite easy to see and use at night. The other thing to consider too, I don't know what it is, and it's a trap that guys fall into, I've noticed in other reviews, is that the actual image you look at when you're actually using the scope, the thermal, compared to what you're looking at now on your screen, the physical image is far better on the actual device itself. So don't look at these images and think, oh shit, it looks a bit sort of how you going. I mean, obviously it could be better. I mean, it could be 1280 core, but ultimately it does look far better when you're actually looking at it in real life. Now, a cool little feature that it has, which it doesn't have well, actually, before I talk about that, again, off the website here, on that resolution that it outputs when you're watching it, it outputs the 1440 by 1080p. That's the video resolution that we're watching at the moment when you're looking at it on your app and when you download it off the device. Now, a cool little feature which you can't see at the moment on screen, when it outputs the video, all it has is that little timestamp down the bottom, which I actually don't mind. I think the timestamp is quite helpful. It's good as a bit of a reference. Is it has a compass. So when you're actually using the device, you can get a gauge of your cardinal direction. Now, this is handy when you're trying to get on an animal with this, like say two of you at the same time hunting, and one of you sees an animal, the other one doesn't, and you can sort of say, oh, look, my part's telling me it's 300 degrees west or whatever. The other good thing, which is handy for the guys that might be using it, usually you'll see the pros using it on the really big farms, doing pig culls or kangaroo culls, driving around, 1,000-acre paddocks and so forth. When you've got the device remote mounted, having that compass down the bottom as a reference, it appears, I'm pretty sure it appears where that Pard, sort of the timestamp is, just down the bottom down there. Having that reference, point of reference to know roughly which direction, because you can lose it if you're using something like a spider bot or a remote mounted system that's electronic, that you're not actually holding like one of the, an out the window spotlight mount. If you're using a remote mounted system that's electronic, it can be quite disorientating to try and figure out which way you're pointing. So having that compass direction, I find, is actually pretty handy to use. Now, it comes with a small amount of onboard storage, but it does, realistically, you need a micro SD if you're going to be able to, if you want to take videos and download videos and so forth. Looks like it basically has max capacity of 128 gigabyte. So it's got gyroscope stabilization in it. As shaky as the footage is, it is in fact shakier if you don't have that on. It's got your Wi-Fi, so you can connect it to your app, obviously. So like I was saying before, you can use it remotely or download your videos of your hunts and so forth. Price-wise, I got mine on special. The reason I got the 25mm is that I found a sort of grey import, how you going deal online. And I got it for about $1,000 cheaper than retail, but they're retailing around that 2,500 mark, 2,000 to 2,500 depending on the lens and depending if you want the laser rangefinder. Which my suggestion for a thermal, if you can get the LRF, because you cannot tell how far something is with that monocular. Now, looking at this footage that you've been seeing, this is the pig trip we went up last Melbourne Cup, so started November last year, so it's quite hot. What I find with the colourful mode, the sienna or whatever it is with the purples and the yellows, it can really blow out the sensor if it's been a really warm day. So up where we were, I mean, the days were sort of mid to high 30s, and the nights weren't really dropping too much below 30 degrees, probably in your mid 20 C. So what I find, and even on the white hot, as you can see now, it does actually blow it out. I mean, this is 10:30 at night, right? The sun had set an hour. This in particular here, it's quite evident because the ground soaks up so much heat and that sensor is so sensitive. It really does blow out a lot of the colors, and I find it in this color palette to be particularly, particularly vibrant when it's really warm. Now, some of the other footage you'll see, particularly on the Foxes, it's not really as bad, obviously, because you're starting, it's 1 degrees, 2 degrees outside. Now you can see here on this particular image, it does have a picture-in-picture mode. I used to run, when I first ran the thermal in picture-in-picture, there's two things with the picture-in-picture. Obviously, because you do have that 25mm lens, it allows you to zoom in a little bit, and it does assist slightly and take advantage of that higher pixel density core to give you a slightly better image, and I wouldn't say make up for, but slightly make up for. That pig there was only about 35-40 meters away. It helps to make up for that lower lens size. The other thing that the picture-in-picture mode helps with, and this isn't something that I've done, but when I very first used the thermal, I found that what I actually did is I accidentally zoomed in, but just by pressing the buttons as I was using it, because I wasn't really sure how I was handling it, walking around the paddocks, up and over fences, you grab it, accidentally press the button, you accidentally zoomed in. So you put your thermal up and it's real blurry, because as you know, with digital devices like this, the zoom is a digital zoom. It's not optical, so it just basically zooms in on pixels, and it's pretty crappy. So what was happening is, and again, this was when I was very new to the thermal, you sort of learn pretty quick what it should look like. I wasn't really sure, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? It looks a bit, how you going? These are some pigs now running across, as you can see. So it's pretty good. That picture-in-picture actually does help quite a bit there. Those pigs were about a couple hundred meters away as we were shooting at them. But having that picture-in-picture on stops you from accidentally zooming in. And it's very easy to zoom in, because you might, with the rangefinder button is, you might press the wrong button. I mean, the button's quite close, as you'll see coming up when I sort of show you it. This is the other mode that it has, which is picture-in-picture, but it has the red crosshairs. And what that red crosshair does is it will go onto the hottest thing in your field of view. Now you can see that fox there, that's about 150 meters away, and that's pretty clear what that is. I don't run that crosshair anymore. It's very distracting, and frankly doesn't really help. Like the contrast is so high and the sensor is so good that I don't feel like you need it. That picture-in-picture mode, you can zoom in that picture. So as you can see up the top, it's really pixelated. It's because you can zoom that in, and it goes up to 16 times zoom on the PIP. The regular thermal, just without the PIP, is a base times zoom of 2, and then it goes 4, 6, and 8. So pretty usable. So I mean, look, the red crosshair thing does work, but it can get pretty distracting, and I don't really think it's particularly necessary. The only thing that it does is that if you have that crosshair on, it will not let you zoom in the scope, which means you won't accidentally zoom it in You can see here, this is white hot. Again, this is when we were on that pig trip last year, and everything looks just a bit more vibrant and a bit more pixelated. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, you guys are looking at it, you'll see. So it's just panning around. This is all fairly close in. So this is where this particular thermal shines. There was some earlier footage of, and even now you'll see that fox there. He was about 120 meters away. You can clearly see what's going on with him through that thick stuff. You could walk in there. As heat soaked as all that was, it still worked, no problems. That pig that is earlier in this footage that I saw in this exact spot, that little bugger, I don't know why, but he did not want to come in, and I couldn't get a clear shot on him through the night vision, and he wandered off into the great beyond to be shot by someone else at another time. It does have 3 scene modes: city, rain, forest. That's something that's separate to the color palette. I believe that's to try and change some of the contrast settings, some of the brightness settings. I don't really play with it. I've not noticed any real meaningful difference. There's that pig again. He just wanders off. So this particular footage, I mean, you can see I'm trying to range out. That's a fox there in the middle. That's at 340 yards. And the reality is an experienced hunter will know that that's what those animals are. They're sheep at 460 because they're just standing there blobs. That particular animal, you think, oh yeah, there's a white blob. It's 400 meters away. It is moving. It is running. An experienced hunter knows, yep, that's a fox. Let's get in closer so we can actually do some work. And you can see there's a second fox that pops up too. So it gives you a bit of an idea of the range. I mean, as you can see in the background, it is peppered. And that'd be probably 2K at the back. You can very clearly see those sheep. And I mean, a sheep's not a big animal, and yet you can clearly see them at a substantial distance. Even those foxes. I mean, that's a 300, 400 meter fox that you can clearly see there's something there. Is it as good as a 640 or a higher 1280? Obviously not, but it's enough to know, yep, there's something there. Let's make a move. So yeah, I don't get these foxes. They run away, the bastards. But anyway, next time. So some other pretty handy features that the actual machine has is the quick start. And essentially what that means is that you don't have to turn the night vision device off every time you're putting it away, like as you're walking around the paddocks or so forth. So if you press and hold the power button, turns it off, turns it on. If you press and hold it for like 1 second and let go of it, and puts it into a sleep mode, so then that way you can quickly turn it on again without having to wait for the whole unit to boot up again. Now the actual boot time on the machine is pretty good. It's only a couple of seconds, so it's not the longest of time, but it does have that quick wake up and quick this wake up from sleep function, which saves the battery. Now the battery is quite good. I will normally get, depending on how much I'm recording and using the rangefinder, the reality is if you bring one fully charged battery, 1 or 2 spares at the most, that's probably about as much as you're going to need. Really, probably 2 batteries in a night. It just depends on how long you're hunting for. But as you'll see in a sec, I mean, I carry half a dozen of those 18650s. They're so easy to carry. They're so cheap to buy. You don't need to really worry about it too much. So that is one of the benefits of having a non-proprietary battery ultimately. So yeah, I'll normally go through probably 2 in a night at the most. Once or twice I've gone through 3, but that's when I've been out for like 6 hours and recording heaps and laser range finding heaps. So as you can imagine, the more you use it, the more you're going to use it. But I'd be pretty comfortable with 2 batteries. But I mean, again, batteries are nothing these days, so it doesn't really matter to carry a couple extra spares. The other thing to consider on this particular unit too is that, like all thermals, it does have a mechanical shutter. There are settings, auto, and one that forces you to use it. It's not very obtrusive. Sometimes you'll see it in the footage. It just basically freezes the footage for maybe 2 seconds. You'll hear it click, and then it just keeps working. So not very obtrusive at all. It does have an automatic off as well when you don't, so that it turns itself off to save a bit of battery. I think I've never had any issues with it. It's about 30 minutes.
Okay guys, just bringing you in for a bit of a closer up look at the Pard 480. So just gonna go back through some of those features again. Obviously you've got your cap, this is magnetized too. There's your lens there. This here's your rangefinder. There's a rangefinder. So one thing you do need to be careful of, what I found out in the field, is that this can wrap up and get around and sometimes can actually be in the way. So just keeping sure that this is actually clear here when you are trying to range an animal. What else have we got? We've got the 4 buttons, obviously. We've got zoom. This button here's your rangefinder. Your menu button down here, and this one here changes your scene, so you can go through white hot, black hot, and all that sort of stuff. You've got your rear focus here and your actual image focus up the front as well. You've got that eye cup padded, so you can get right in on that. Now what I've done, this doesn't come standard, is I've actually added this small Picatinny rail down here. So this is through Smart Rest, I believe. Comes with pick rail and the screw as well. Now this is really good because what you can do is you can actually attach this to something like a spider bot or on top of a spotlight, a car mounted spotlight, so you can basically wirelessly view what's going on through the app. The app is quite good. It's just a standard Pard app, so you can use it as a range. So you can use it as a remote viewing system, right? When you've got really big paddocks, a couple thousand acres, as you can come across for pigs and everything else. It allows you to cover a lot of ground quite easily as well. So this is definitely worth it. It was about, I think I bought this for maybe 30 bucks from Hunt the Night or something. It's quite cheap. Now, one of the problems I do have with this unit, pretty much one of the only negatives that I've been able to find realistically with the unit, is this. This here is the battery compartment. Now, push this button here, pops open. There's your battery in there. It does take your 18650 batteries. This is the standard one that comes with the actual unit, I believe. Pard branded battery. Now to take this battery out, you've got a little pull cord, and you're meant to be able to pull that cord out and it comes out. Now the issue is that I found is that I cannot get this battery out with this cable. As you can probably see here, I've ripped a fair bit of the covering off trying to pry out the actual battery itself. So I do find that to be a bit of a nuisance. The other issue I have too is that on my unit, for whatever reason, it's doing it now of course because I'm filming, but this actually sometimes doesn't lock, which isn't the worst thing in the world. The fact that I just mentioned the battery refuses to come out means that this closing isn't but it's just annoying. It flaps around, can get in the way. You don't want to break it. Yeah, there you go. See, it's not closing it. But that could just be something on my unit. And yeah, so very, very nice bit of kit there. And the way I run it is in this. So this is the Hunter's Element Bino harness. One pouch I have full of batteries. Between my spotlight and between my night vision scope, they all take the 18650 batteries, which is great because they're all in the same battery scheme. So I've got that pocket there full. This is usually for my empties, but I'll have this on my chest, the lanyard wrapped around my neck here, and that close like that, and that just keeps it from sort of dangling around. Now it can still pop out or come out as I'm walking along, but because it is on a lanyard, it's not the end of the world there. So that's a bit of a look at closer up look at it in hand. Excellent little bit of kit.